Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first ever episode of the Cosmo ClashKing podcast. I'm joined here today with Magic, my co-host from ClashKing. I'm Obama, not my actual name, from Cosmo League. We're very happy to be here today for our first episode. How are you doing, Magic?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm excited to do a podcast again. I know there's some people who I know it hasn't been perfect in the past, so excited to finally get one done.
Yeah, give
Talk
it
about
another
the
go.
stuff that.
When was the last time you did one?
Oh, I did the. I was a guest on a couple podcasts back, and I think that was December, and
Mm.
then tried to co-host one, but God, honestly, I think it fell apart mostly because I was super busy.
Yeah,
But anyways, it didn't work out perfectly, and
but you're here
um,
to give it another go.
I got more
That's what we
time
like
then.
to hear. Yeah, yeah. Well, I think both of us are pretty excited to give this a shot. I think we've got a lot to talk about. Of course, we're going to be planning to do these once every 2 weeks, give or take. You know, we might bring that in a bit closer towards time. We might stretch that out a bit during the quiet season. But yeah, we're very happy to be doing this, and thank you for joining us for our first ever episode. If you haven't already, we've got Twitter, well, or X, whatever you want to call it, and we've got a Discord as well. Feel free to join both. You can put suggestions in there. Let us know what you want to hear about. We've got a good connection into the Clash community. Anything you want to know about, we can go out, we can find it for you, and we can bring you some fresh gossip. Really, I think that's kind of the best way to put it. Um, we'll go over a little bit over today's topics. We're going to be talking about the latest news, the latest updates within Clash of Clans, all the game updates that Supercell have been pushing out recently. We've seen a lot of change in the last few months. Some people have loved it, some people have hated it. We're going to dive right into that. Community highlights, talking all about the alliances, all about the leagues, talk about all the esports teams, see what's going on, see how people are feeling. And of course, there's going to be a lot on topic, so just make sure to stick around, and we'll get through it all. So I think a good place to start, Magic, would probably be the recent game updates. What do you think, and what are your thoughts on all of the updates that Supercell have been pushing out? You're on mute. I can't hear you. Can't hear you at all. Hold on. What's going on there? It's not showing up in my OBS either. Nothing. Hold on. Let me check to make sure my thing hasn't.
Yeah, so the update, we had the June update, the summer update that they normally have, and I guess the three major things were the Builder Apprentice, and then the Druid, and then the hard mode. There was some little quality of life. Probably the biggest one was being able to rearrange your Supercell ID accounts.
Mm.
Um, because there's those people that have your 25 accounts, and if you have them in the wrong order, well, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
But have you seen much about the Builder Apprentice or used it or anything?
I haven't really had a chance to use it. I've spoken to a few people. Some people are questioning whether it's really, much value in there in terms of upgrading it and in terms of all the gems and stuff that you need to spend on it to really get it up there quickly. It's been a divisive subject, but I suppose that's kind of like a lot of things in Clash at the moment. There's a lot of division over these little updates. Yeah, what do you think on the sort of value of that?
Yeah, it's weird because like, and I think Itsu touched on this. A lot of the creators were not enthusiastic about it when we first um, saw it, I guess. And actually, my initial worry was that they had um, on Reddit they had done that Q&A recently, and they had said that for sometime during the summer they were going to have something right to help with hero upgrades. And when I first saw that, and I think multiple people as well were also like, hold up, this is not your answer for hero upgrades, right?
Yeah.
Um like if it is, then God, y'all really missed the mark. But it ended up not being. But still, it's weird because like on paper, it makes mathematical sense, right? Like, okay, you pay 6,500 gems, and then you'll get 6,500 gems of your value back after a year. So it's weird in that aspect of, yes, it does make sense on paper, but it just doesn't feel right. I still feel like it's a bit expensive. I mean, it's a whole year investment, and 6,500 gems is nothing to joke about. I mean, that's $50 if you have to buy the gems outright. I mean, kind of the way I see it is like, okay, maybe the value pans out, but you're still still on paper, you're also paying 6,500 gems for a third of a builder, basically, because
Yeah,
it can only work 8 hours instead of 24, and you have to manually assign it every day.
yeah,
I think maybe if I don't know, it just feels I don't know, maybe if it was like you have to it works 24 hours and you have to assign it every day, or if it lets you upgrade walls, or I don't know, work in the laboratory or something. Like if there was more to it, maybe, but just as the way it is, I don't know. Like that's just kind of the way I see it. Is it's a third of a builder that you're also not only is it 6,500 gems, you have to put in perspective that what the fifth builder is 2,000 gems.
yeah,
I mean, the sixth builder that they let us have, I mean, you got it for free. So,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then
I
this
suppose
time
that's a bonus.
yeah, this time they come around and you don't even get a full builder and it's 6,500 gems. So to me,
Yeah,
even though it makes
it's
sense
steep.
on paper, like mathematically, I still think, I mean, because it's like a lot of things could make sense mathematically, right? I mean, they could say, you could get 14th at like maybe they doubled the price and you'll get it back after 2 years. Like,
Yeah,
that doesn't make it like okay, I guess. Like just because you'll eventually get your money back on it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, you are right. I think the upfront investment is a bit steep. I mean,
yeah.
yeah. If you work it out and sit down and work out over the years, you will probably get your money back. But coming from a casual player perspective, a lot of them will be wondering
Well,
whether it's really worth it.
and it's also kind of crazy, and I've seen some discussions about this, of just how many like gems were not a big thing in the game for a long time.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, really, I mean, because early on, gems were a big thing, I guess, right? Because that was the only way you could do anything. Like, if you
yeah,
wanted to upgrade, like, there was no magic items.
mm,
But then after gold pass and magic items, I mean, really, the only thing people used them for is the one gem donations.
yeah,
Um, which I mean, you have to have the gold pass to begin with, and then
yeah.
I think
Exactly.
a popular thing too is people buying hero books with them,
Mm,
and then of course they added the Goblin Builder. But I guess really is there was a point in time where really the only thing it was used for was one gem donations. Then you could buy hero books with it. Then the Goblin Builder. Now this thing, and then hero equipment too. Like if you miss the pass, you'll have to buy the hero equipment with gems,
yeah,
which honestly, that one pisses me off even more. At least with the Goblin Builder, I do like that they just made it you pay $50 and that's enough gems. With the hero equipment, they put 1,500 gems, so you have to buy like you can't get the $1,200 gem pack. You have to get the $20 pack,
yeah,
which is its own thing. But anyways, all those are all gem things. And then if you're a new player, you're looking at and actually, I do want to correct a statement. I said that there's nothing the gems are spent on, but that's outside the builders. The
yeah,
builders, that
yeah.
those are gems costs. Um, but I guess the point is you didn't have these other things to spend gems on. It was just you get the builders. But now it's the builders, it's the hero equipment. It's gonna be the goblin builder when it comes. It's gonna be your apprentice builder. Like, I mean, even if you only focus on the basics, it's over $150 in gems, and
Really,
well,
that
and
is.
then this is the thing too, is that they added all these things you can spend it on, but there's not a whole lot more gem revenue. Like,
Mm,
you're not getting more gems for your obstacles. I mean, maybe there's a few more gems from like these event passes or whatever, but
yeah.
again, like if you are in that situation where you're needing to uh, uh like buy these things, then you're not going to be selling your magic items and stuff to get more gems. So,
No, exactly, exactly, and I echo your thoughts there. There has been a lot of calls within the community saying that this is just a form of profiteering, really.
Mm.
as far as some people are concerned. They think it's a way for Supercell to add extra forms of revenue in there. I mean, it's no secret that they've been building up their team. They've been putting investments into their game. They've been relaunching a lot of stuff. It could be a case that they're trying to raise some funds to help, cover the costs or cost of all of these, bits of work that they're doing. So I think it does raise a good question from our community as to whether we're actually seeing the value. Because I think in the past, although things have changed in price and some things are more expensive than others, I
Mm-hmm.
do think we've seen a decent return on investment. But going forward, I'm not entirely sure if that's really going to be the case with these updates.
Yeah, and I also think like on one hand, I'm not super pissed about it either, regarding the apprentice builder specifically, because I mean every builder you get is kind of like reduced value anyways, you know? Like the first builder, the second builder, I guess you get, it's literally doubling your capacity, but every single one you get after that's just a little bit less percentage.
Yeah,
So, I mean, getting your quote seventh builder that does a third of a work, I think somebody calculated it only gives you like 5% extra like
for
capacity. So,
6,500 gems.
I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, so and yeah, it's more expensive than like or it's the same cost maybe or somewhere around there if all the other
I
builders
think that's all of them
combined, you know?
combined. Yeah, because I remember
But
the fifth one being 2,000 gems.
yeah. So
So
I mean, I don't think it's like it's not like they added this thing and it works as five builders or something crazy. And so, like, if you don't get it, like, you're screwed. So I can appreciate that, I guess. It's
yeah,
just kind of
it's not a
almost a
pay to
quality of
win.
life thing,
Yeah,
I guess, maybe. I mean, I do think it would have been maybe smarter on their part to make it more accessible or I don't even know. I mean, even if you put it as like a gold pass perk or something, I don't know. Just because it does make sense in a way, it is smart on their end, I guess. To make it where you have to log in every day to use it. Like that's not
yeah,
you know.
it
I
keeps
mean,
the
I don't even
engagement high.
necessarily mind that, and it's a way to get people to come back. But maybe the execution wasn't great.
Yeah, that's an
Yeah,
interesting thought. That's an interesting thought. I didn't really think about it from the daily activity perspective. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, it keeps people coming back in. Perhaps that's the main reason why. But
But
yeah,
and it's always I mean, it's always hard to tell with Supercell too because sometimes they'll do things like it's like equipment, right? People were complaining about equipment originally, and then they had like or the ores and specifically, right? They're like, oh, we're not getting enough ores, and they did work for that. Like they upped the amount that you get and different things, and also, I guess equipment was part of it, right?
mm,
Actually, because they were releasing them super fast, and people, so they actually did some, like I think this month, right? Is the or
yeah,
was the Super Wall Breaker one? So you're not dealing with the or no, there was the equipment this month. But anyways, they did that 1 month where it's like just the ores,
yeah.
um, and you don't have to worry about equipment. So they did listen to the community on that. But so that's I guess the gist is sometimes they'll put it out there and they'll just be like, okay, let's see what people are doing, and we can change things, or maybe they already have a plan for the future, like kind of right now with all the equipments piling up. They've said, we're looking into how we can deal with this because obviously somebody coming into the game and having 25 equipment they need to get and $1,000 in gems if they want to get it now is not sustainable, especially since like I'm sure as in esports like it's already a thing where you know you got to be town hall 16 for like the highest
Exactly,
tier of esports.
exactly. And I suppose that does lead us quite nicely, really, into the segue of the sort of value and the upgrade times. I'm just going to show you my screen here, and we're just going to bring up a few little bits and pieces here. And don't worry, the audience, you'll be able to see this in just a moment. I should hope. No, I. So here we are then,
Yeah, so
with the build times by
yeah, I
major
mean,
updates. Go for it,
yeah, the
Magic.
interesting thing to me about it is just how high the build times got. And I mean, of course, you have the people who are like, oh, back in my day, or y'all have it easy now. And like, maybe that's true, but it's on a quality of life level, but it definitely is interesting to see that like at peak, the times were almost double. I mean, of course, I don't know if like pre 2012 goes all the way back to like Town Hall 10 or something,
Mm,
but it would honestly kind of surprise me if like when there was only Town Hall 10 and 11, if the build time was 4 years.
yeah.
Um, like I don't think that I could be wrong, but I don't think they did any cuts as drastic as they have recently. So I can't imagine it was like 5 years to max at Town Hall 10, and then by Town Hall 12 somehow we went back down to 2. So
No, yeah, there
um,
is definitely a trend there, isn't there? There is a trend of them trying to
yeah,
push
so
that
but
down.
it is crazy. I mean, I guess if what doubled it? I guess that would be the 2021 updates when they added what? I guess Town Hall 15 did that? Really?
Well, yeah. The 2021 update
Town Hall 14?
was just the start of it. So 2021, yeah, Town Hall 13, but then 2022 they pushed out 14 and 15 in fairly quick succession, all things considered,
Yeah.
within a year and a half of each other. And that really that was the killer blow. And ever since then, it looks like they've been trying to backpedal a little bit on on the amount of time, because you can see that 4 years to reach maximum Town Hall 15, which is nuts.
Yeah.
That is absurd. You know, I mean,
And honestly, 2 years, I mean, that doesn't sound too bad. I think that's like if I would say that's not a bad. That would be a good thing to aim for. 2 years, because if you kind of think about it, you have a new town hall every year,
mhm.
and then if a person can basically get over halfway there in 1 year, I mean, I think that 2 years honestly sounds good, like on terms of syncing with the cycle and everything. Um, but the interesting thing too is, um, well, no, I was gonna say, I wonder if their goal is to basically make everyone like head towards the highest town hall. And I was having this discussion with somebody else the other day. Is kind of like in the past, you kind of had a lot of the player base at this mid range, like maybe town hall 12 or 13. I guess nowadays.
Yeah,
Um, but I guess for them, it really shouldn't matter where the people are at, right? Like,
no,
if you have everyone at Town Hall 12, or if you have everybody at Town Hall 16, if they're active and playing in the game and buying stuff, does it really matter? I mean, you're
no,
just going to make
exactly,
people happier if they're Town Hall
exactly.
16, right? They get to play with new stuff. So, I mean, if I was them, I think I would try to get those, I mean, at least get down to, the 700 days, 2 year mark like they used to be.
Yeah,
And
I think 2 years should be the goal for them.
yeah, and then
Yeah,
get, try to push people up town hall levels. I mean, because it really doesn't. I mean, for them, I would imagine it shouldn't really matter, right? I mean, if they're town hall 12 or 16, I mean, if they're buying the gold pass, you shouldn't really care what town hall they're at. You shouldn't
yeah,
make the
it's
build
income, isn't it?
times extraordinarily long. And I know that one of the arguments though is that so people can like learn
Mm.
stuff as they're going through town hall levels, but also I think the game could just do a better job. Period. I mean, um helping people out. And I know one of the ways they've tried to do that, of course, is by making the game easier on well, I know we'll probably have a good discussion about this, but making it easier, just straight up easier
Yeah,
by
yeah,
making the troops
making it
stronger
a lot
or
easier.
whatever. But
Yeah.
like honestly, I really liked this update. They added that like tactical view, I think is what they called it, where like when you're in scouting, you can like see where the expos go. And honestly, like I didn't even see it in the patch notes at first when they shared it with us,
Yeah,
you know. And because I saw the creators talking about the druid or whatever, and then I think a couple days before the update, I happened to look at the docs and I was like, "Yo, this is actually like a hidden gem." I can't believe I didn't see anybody ask anything about it. Um, and I was really impressed because it was one of those things where they are trying to help the casual player, but they didn't do it by just making it easier, you know? And I would like to see more of those things. Like I know they tried with like the practice maps or whatever, but I think those kind of things are good,
yeah,
to help the casual player, the people who aren't as skilled. And it's not just here, let's add this new OP troop that we won't name.
yeah, yeah. Exactly, exactly. I mean, yeah, I do think they are going in the right direction. It's just it is weird that technically it has been about 2 years since we were at that peak, and if we keep following that trajectory, we're going to see about another 200 hours knocked off. So perhaps in another year and a half, we'll see it back down to the 700 hours mark. It's um
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting. We're going to just have to wait and see, I suppose. Which as we know, a lot of the community is not perhaps that patient. So we're just going to have to see how long they can hold on for. But yeah, lots of interesting stuff there. Very interesting. And of course, thank you for the person that made this, user Royal Slush, and some very interesting comments which go on for quite a while. So if anybody ever wants to, read along read, go take a look at that. We'll switch back over to the main podcast screen now. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the druid. There's been a lot of talk about this, and perhaps it's overpowered, perhaps it's not. Do you have any thoughts on sort of the utilization of that? Do you think they've rolled out that new troop nicely? I mean, what are your
So,
thoughts?
I mean, I haven't actually unlocked it on my actual account yet.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, no, not yet. I
Okay.
think I did put it. I think actually I think my barracks are upgrading. I mean,
Hmm.
I probably have a hammer or what. I probably could have gemmed it or whatever. I probably could have got it. I don't
Haven't done
know.
it yet.
I'm enjoying the casual lifestyle, I guess these days. I'm in a casual clan and just war every couple days and see. Anyways,
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Makes
So
sense to
I
me.
haven't actually got the Druid yet on my actual account, but I did play it in the dev build a little bit. Um, I know my first thought, like, as soon as they start doing sneak peeks and stuff, I told people I kind of think it's gonna make root because they did the root rider nerf,
Yeah.
and one of the things that they did, was reduce the health. Well, I was kind of just my first thought was okay, so they reduced the health. Now we have a troop that gives health back, and it
Yeah.
has chain, and it does it in a chain fashion.
Have
Well,
they just reintroduced the
oh
Root Rider?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's another troop. Well, the healing part, anyways, doesn't care about walls. Can jump over them. So I was like,
That sounds a little
well,
bit like a troop we know.
I know. Just on paper, I
Yeah.
was like, oh god. And it seems like people have been saying that too. Is that it kind of I guess Root Riders maybe got a little bit of a nerf. I don't know how effective it was because I mean, what it was only a couple weeks maybe, but
Yeah, it looks
um,
like it's been
it,
relatively effective. I mean,
and it maybe it
yeah.
helped a little bit, but then it was like they're just like, okay, well, we're gonna bring that back. Here you go. Here's a troop to fix that. Like
Yeah,
it was kind of weird. Um,
it
but
does feel like they've
anyways, I mean, it
put that in.
seems like people have said it's OP.
Yeah,
So
I think I don't think the troop itself is OP. If you were to take it back a bit, put it into Town Hall 15, back in the old meta, I think it would be a supporting troop. I think would be able to be
uh,
quite useful, but I'm not sure if you'd see it quite as widely used as it is now with Root Riders.
I mean, yeah, that actually is pretty fair because I mean, if you think about it, like, okay, Root Riders just took away your need for because if we go back to like Town Hall 13, even,
Mm,
people used to do these different spams, and that was probably like the peak of ground spam. Maybe Town Hall 12 actually, but Town Hall 12 and 13 was a lot of ground spam. Yeah, 13 because they brought the Yeti in, but
yeah,
you were like it had a downside to it, right? If you're gonna ground spam, you're gonna have to get rid of walls. But now it's like, okay, well, you don't have to worry about walls with the Root Rider.
yeah.
Okay, well, okay, maybe they're gonna get hit with DPS. Well, no, that's not really a big thing because you can just have this troop that's healing them constantly. And like I mean, even if you think about it like healers, you could say, okay, well, we have the healers, but they have a weakness, which is air bombs. But that's not even a thing with these. Like,
No, yeah. There's
it's
nothing
just
really stopping
like
them, is there?
yeah, and honestly, I know some people are not a big fan of it, but I think that they should increase the spring trap capacity or give us more spring traps or something. I don't know, like that's there needs to be
Something to
something so
try
you
to
can like
balance
directly
out the
counter
country.
them. I
Yeah.
mean,
I
I mean
suppose that
even if you
plays
could
into the wider sort of balance conversation that's going on, because I think the Root Riders, as you say, were that was the correct thing to nerf, but with hero abilities and now the Druid and now all of these other things, it is difficult
mhm,
to work out exactly where this power source is coming from. And if you just allow the Druid to go through, ignore the walls, and walls, of course, already a contentious issue. There's always people
yeah.
complaining about wall prices and the the amount that they cost now compared to when they were Town Hall 8. It is absurd. So, there are a lot of people questioning whether the game is still in the right format. If you're spending 7 million on a wall, well, then the troops just gonna walk through it. So if it's not there, what's the point?
Yeah, it's really weird. And well, I do think it is kind of interesting about like the spam in like the pro scene
Mhm.
because at least to me it didn't seem like it was that prevalent in like Town Hall 14. Um
Yeah,
like to me at Town Hall 14 it really I thought that they did a pretty good job because it really seemed like they were able to give spam to the like normal people, the casuals, which was dragons. Like hell, I ran dragons. A lot of people did,
Mhm.
and like dragons were good, and yeah, some people in the pro scene used it, but like it was you Lalo was what was really used. I mean, it
Yeah,
was used enough that you had people going, "Oh my god, Lalo!" Like I'm tired of watching Lalo. So I do think it was kind of cool that at Town Hall 14 they were actually able to somehow pretty much have two different metas
yeah,
almost.
yeah,
One for the casuals, and I don't know how. Like, it's kind of weird if you think about like how did they even do that? Like, how did they have a spam that was strong enough for casuals, but not good enough for pros? Because in this
yeah,
case, what you have is just everyone's using the same thing everywhere, and
yeah, and
I
it
mean that
works all the
wasn't
time.
entirely
Yeah,
true at Town Hall 14. Like, Super Dragons were strong for a time, but like in general, it was a lot of Wallow.
yeah, and of
So
course at Town Hall 14, if you could build the base correctly, and you were good
yeah.
at understanding where the weak points were, and baiting certain troops, you can make it work.
Yes, and
But
that's probably
nowadays,
part of it. You're right. Yeah, the
yeah,
baiting, like because people using clone loons. You can just put a bunch of red air bombs, but
yeah,
um,
nowadays, not quite
there
so
it just
much.
doesn't seem like there's a lot of good counters to root riders. I mean, again, I'm not like super into this kind of stuff anymore, but like I used to be. But I mean, really, what good? I mean, uh, okay, so like I started playing Legends again a couple months ago, and I mean, really, the one thing that bothers me when I'm doing Root Riders spamming them is like, oh crap, somebody put a Super Dragon in their CC. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, besides that, it's kind of like I mean, what is there? And
yeah,
again, I really think that spring traps. I mean, spring traps, man. Upgrade those things, and then, dude, you'll have base builders putting like 5 of them in front of the walls where they think you're gonna put it, and
yeah.
bye bye, they're your root riders. I don't know. That's
Yeah, well, the thing is, even if we find out a way to really buff the defenses, at the moment the pros are tripling in what anywhere between 110 and 130. I mean
yep,
that's an absurd time frame. Is spring traps really going to be enough long term? I mean we've,
yeah.
I do
I
think the
don't know.
hard mode will help that a little bit, but
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, it just needs some type of counter, I think is the thing. I
yeah,
know, I mean, I've seen suggestions like the walls that you literally cannot break with anything. I mean, I've always joked we need like the skeleton trap, we need a headhunter trap. I don't
right,
know, we
yeah,
we need something, man.
yeah.
I don't know. There just needs to be some way to counter it because I mean,
Well, that's a
there's
good idea. I do quite like the idea
I mean,
of a
there's like
headhunter trap.
theoretical
Yeah.
counters, right? But I
The
mean,
thing
if they're
is,
just
on
that
those
OP, it
counters,
doesn't matter.
exactly, and I think you've got to bear in mind as well. Clash of Clans is one of the few games where there isn't a separate pro mode and a separate casual mode. We've got the hard mode, which we'll go into, of course, but in a sense
Yeah.
that is a counter for the normal players going to be enough to actually stop any pro players? Probably not. And at the pro level, you've got to
Yeah.
ask the same question: Are their counters and their base building and all of that, is that actually enough to create an exciting meta? Because at the moment, we've still got the meta being based on time, um, which
Well,
yeah,
and I might have brought this up in before in different places, and I know I for sure I brought up in the creator program, but like my kind of opinion is what's happened is with Town Hall 15 is that you just they made the game too complex,
yeah,
maybe. Um, where it's like it's kind of at the point where if you try to nerf it, like let's say you make the game on paper 5% more difficult. Well, what happens is for the pros, maybe that knocks them down 5%, but then now the casuals get knocked down like 20%.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
And I think part of it is that and maybe they just made the core concept of the town halls too hard because it's like the monolith at Town Hall 15. Or I mean, it's still there,
Mm.
but as a casual, you know, like a pro is okay. So I guess if we go back to like Town Hall 9, right? Like you have the Expo, right?
Yeah,
Or like even go back to, I mean, we can go back really far, like the CC. Let's just go down to that's part of the first major like defense you have to deal with.
yeah,
The CC. There's a counter for it. It's called a poison spell,
yeah,
and you learn that and you deal with it. But I think we kind of got to this point where there's all these different things you have to counter. You got to deal with heroes. So how do you deal with the monolith? How do you deal with the scatter? How do you deal with the town hall that
Yeah.
fights back? And I feel like the monolith and the spell towers were just like that tipping point of like, there's just too much that you have to learn how to counter, or maybe there's not even a counter. Like that was one of my
Yeah.
things that like I explained is um I wish that there was more like zapping and stuff like that because at Town Hall 10 and 11, it's pretty simple. You zap out there's some strategy to it, right? Like you learn how to zap things out,
Yeah.
but there's still some risk to it. And like, I know people like zap, which was kind of spammy, but there's still
You
some
still have to
strategy
funnel.
to it in
Yeah.
terms of
Yeah.
what you
You
zap
still have
out
to.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And I guess the core concept of that is you have a multi inferno, you
Yeah.
have a counter to it.
Hmm.
You have the zapping out, you have a CC, you have a counter to it. It's the poison spell. You have heroes, you have a counter to it, the headhunters. But I really feel like for Monolith and Spell Towers, they didn't really think that out in terms of like what is that counter, especially for pro players. And it kind of feels like they just went, man, we'll just make it easier. What is
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter how it doesn't really matter if you just, anything can steamroll it.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah. Exactly. That does seem to be the approach they've taken.
and
Just
I
more of
I
a
kind of
yeah.
feel like that's what happened is it just hit that tipping point where there's just not a lot. I think they need to add more of those like, and I guess maybe some of these support troops will kind of help with that, but I still think that maybe they went too far with the steamrolling thing.
Well,
But
yeah, yeah,
so,
and you've got to think as well. You say that there's a lot of things that you need to think about when attacking. I mean, of course, the current meta is so easy that you don't really need to. But let's say we go to Town Hall 17. You're gonna have new counters to deal with. You're gonna have new things that you need to learn about,
mhm.
and at that point, you're gonna have what? You're gonna have Expos, Infernos, Eagle Artillery, the Town Hall, the Monolith. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, God knows. Maybe my nan will be on there next. It's just absurd. It's just on and on.
I mean, another good counter I just thought of is like Town Hall 14, right? They added the poison. Um, but then people figured out, okay, well, you can put a quake on the town hall, or if you hit the town hall with a quake, and then the log launcher can take it out. So like that's a quote
Mm.
counter. I feel like they need to add more of those like little,
Clever
you know,
tricks. Yeah.
yeah, little tricks and stuff that people can use because I know that's like a at least for especially when I was like super casual and playing in a super casual clan, like those are the kind of things that people picked up, like
Yeah.
what's how can you pull the CC? Oh, you can use a hog. Dude, the base is so big nowadays. You're not gonna pull a CC out with just a hog, like,
No. No. No.
or
Like
and for some reason
maybe
they've been
about
like
20.
super stubborn about zaps. Like you can't like they don't like you zapping out a scatter for whatever reason.
Mm.
But like
Yeah. It
I
is,
don't know, it's
it is absurd. And yeah, the balance part it is mental. And I think that's a pretty good segue really into the hard mode discussion.
hard.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think we'll bring that up on screen now. So for those that aren't aware, the hard mode recently introduced in game. Now, for those that don't really follow the esports scene, there has been initially the meta. We've seen a big decrease in the amount of competitive players that we see in the game, both in terms of sponsorships, players, organisation support. Leagues are suffering as a result, and streamers aren't as interested in covering the matches because there's no interesting final deciders. I'm not sure if you feel the same way, Magic, but it is just a case of at the moment it's just the same thing. I could watch
Yeah.
one war, watch the next, and I could not tell you which team was which. There's no style to the strategies. There's no creativity in there. And I'm not saying that they need to be creative because of course this is esports. They want to be getting the best results in there, so they're kind of forced
Mhm.
to do the easiest strategy. And the hard mode was Supercell's answer to that. Now, it's a good thing when you see a tweet from any company and they ask for your thoughts in the comments, and you see there's 68 of them. There's 68 thoughts, and knowing the Clash community, I can tell you where these are going off by heart. Now,
And I do want to piggyback off you saying like about the creative thing.
yeah,
I will never forgive the people at Town Hall 14 who
yeah,
were like, "Oh, I'm so tired of seeing Lalo all the time." Like, and I guarantee you, it's the same people now that are like, "Oh my god, it's not creative anymore." Like, because it's gonna be the same people watching esports,
it
right? So
is.
it's gotta be the same people. Like, I'm not gonna forgive you for that. Like, come on now. Look what you
Yeah,
did.
it has gone from one extreme to the other. I mean, Town Hall 15, from a pro perspective and from an esports perspective only, was the best Town Hall. For everybody else, it wasn't very good. And you've got to bear in mind the esports and the super competitive side. That's what, maybe 5-10% of all of Clash
Yeah.
players. You've got 19 million monthly, give or take. I don't think
But
that many of them are going to be playing competitively.
it's it's so crazy that a lot of the complaints were like it's too easy,
Yeah,
which okay, maybe it was a little bit easier than before, but also one of the complaints is that it's all Lalo, but it was creative Lalo. I mean, especially if you're not a pro, you're an average person watching a Queen Charge Lalo. That's way more creative than Dragon. So
yeah, definitely, definitely. As
it's
yeah, something
it's
where
done
you
a big
don't place in
U-turn.
a line is always good, really, isn't it?
I mean, I haven't watched much esports, but I know I did tune into a stream the other day, and I was like, dude, what the heck has happened?
Yeah, it is
Like,
absurd because now we're kind of sat here watching every player, every team under the sun posting about how quickly they three start, and it used to be
yeah,
a game
dude, I
of
can't believe that.
yeah,
Like, I mean, because like,
nuts.
I mean, we recently just made the Twitter for ClashKing, and so I've actually been like
You've
looking at
seen
Twitter,
that community, yeah,
and yeah, and I mean, it's crazy just everywhere. Like, because I was kind of like, people are probably over exaggerating because, um,
yeah,
but dude, it's like everyone's like, it's not even like, oh, my hit rate is because like I remember I tried to do some competitive stuff and it was like a Town Hall 14 and 15, it was like 50% hit rate is good. But now it's like people don't even post their hit rate
no,
really. It's like
no,
I can triple in a minute 20.
yeah. There
Or like
is
even during the
nobody
matches I
gives a
was watching
shit.
the match. Yeah,
Nobody
yeah.
cares. Yeah,
The match I watched, it wasn't even like can he 3-star? It was like, no, can he attack in under a minute
yeah,
and a half or
yeah.
whatever? I
If
was like,
the
oh
thing
my
is, if you're
god.
not three-starring in this game, you're you're not going to be in a team for that long. I mean, obviously, players have off days, and occasionally, they actually get tricked by good base design. But that's so difficult to pull off nowadays, and there's really only a few base builders that can do that adequately. And especially considering that I think the amount of base builders has gone down a significant amount as well. Because why would you build bases for a meta when you can just put down a few root
Mhm.
riders and get the job done? I mean, I did want to point out that the interesting thing with this tweet is that Hardmode will not be used for the Clash Wars monthly, and that's an interesting approach I think from Supercell for their own feature. Now they said
I
that it was
think,
because they wanted our feedback. What do you think about that, though?
yeah. No, yeah, and I get it, I guess. I mean, they probably I mean, they want to make sure that's not going to do anything crazy, I guess. Like they don't want because it is an unequal like it's not I mean, I don't know. Maybe they were foreseeing that maybe that these I guess nerfs, right?
Yeah,
Basically in this mode might skew something like maybe root riders wouldn't be good, but all of a sudden people are spamming this other army, and then now it really messes up worlds, or people, you know, I can see why they didn't do it for the monthly, and probably to just make sure that all the monthly competitions are the same for everybody, and
yeah. I'm
that's fair
guessing
enough.
that's why they've done it.
Um,
Yeah,
but I I mean, okay, so I guess from what I've seen people say and from my own experience, it does seem like it is a little bit harder, but it doesn't affect spam that much. Like
yeah,
it mostly affects like Queen Charge Lalos or something like that. Because I guess the biggest nerf here is of course the heroes.
yeah.
And I know some people have been like, oh, well, why didn't they, just do a blanket troop nerf? Or why is it not 20 DPS on defenses? And I guess part of it is that they I mean, honestly, I don't know why they didn't just do like 20 DPS on
No, I
defenses, to
think
be honest.
yeah, I
But
do
I
think
guess
they've
it's
gone
maybe they
overboard
didn't
on it.
want to go too far and then have to go back because I don't know, maybe 20 DPS just destroys like everything.
Thing
I don't
is,
know.
thing is, if you're
Um,
looking at it statistically,
yeah,
in terms of we're hitting on average about what 1 minute 30, we'll say, give or take. I think that the damage rate should be about maybe the damage reduction, so in all of that should be about maybe 30% or so. I think it needs to be way higher than it is currently because the pros, their entire thing is adapting to the basis and finding creative ways. Town Hall 15 was difficult for most standard players. That's kind of acknowledged. But the pros were still finding ways to 3-star. We were still seeing perfect wars. We were still seeing creative attacks and the utilization of the current meta, but in a way that hadn't been used before. We saw some really
Yeah.
interesting attacks with the Invis and the World Champion and the Diggy Siege thing. I cannot remember what it's called. The Drill Siege, I think that's it. You
Yeah.
know, um, uh, and we saw some really creative stuff like that, which worked well. And the only way that you're going to see that sort of innovation, from my perspective, is by making it difficult. Nothing, nobody ever comes up with something creative when the easy options right there in front of them. That's my opinion on it. Then,
Well, yeah, and I think this is the thing too, is it can't be the easy option can't just be a spam.
yeah,
Like, because like the people at Town Hall 14 did some crazy stuff, right?
yeah,
With heroes, but it wasn't spam.
yeah. No, no, exactly.
um, but I also think that I don't know that any percentage just outright is going to work because
Mm,
you also have to think about like I noticed that they didn't touch troops and I do get that because you probably don't want your sneaky goblins to get like nerfed, you probably don't want wall breakers to get nerfed like that's going to take away from the experience of the game if like all of a sudden you got to use 3 wall breakers to take down the wall like
yeah,
okay that makes
exactly.
it more difficult but it's like for what cost I mean
Yeah, because you've
because
got two
again
different
you're
games,
also
pretty much, haven't you?
yeah,
Yeah.
I do think that there is like, are you gonna make the healers weaker? Like,
Mm,
I, I mean, there's gotta be a balance there. I mean, I think like you don't want your nerf the heroes then all or the healers, and then all of a sudden the healers go down to 1 red bomb or something. Like, there has to be a balance there, and I think especially the support troops, you probably want some more thought gone into than just okay. Now you have to use 10 sneaky goblins to take down to 1 gold storage or something, right?
yeah,
Um, but also, I think that percentage is a little tricky too because maybe a monolith, right? If it does, 1,000 DPS per second, just to for easy sake here, and then now it
yeah,
does 20% more DPS. You're adding 200 DPS versus like 1 archer tower. You know, like there's like percentage can be a lot
yeah. It
depending
can be
on
skewed.
what
Yeah,
the initial thing is. So you could make something like an archer tower that's super easy to take out. Okay, it gets a couple DPS, but then all of a sudden the monolith 20% could be like huge. Um,
yeah,
or 20% more poison damage or something could be huge too.
yeah, definitely.
Just
Yeah.
they're sitting there. So I don't know that just a blanket thing is gonna be enough. And I know I'm sure if you go into the comments, we'll probably see like there's some different
Oh yeah.
suggestions of like,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
let's make
That's
the rage tower larger, stuff like that. And I don't know, maybe stuff like that is the way to go. I don't know. I guess just really I don't know if they're gonna be able to do it with just blanket
Yeah. I
5%,
think.
10%.
Yeah.
I
I
think it
think it's
might
difficult.
skew things too much, or um, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think we'll take a look at some of the comments. I think that's probably the best way to get a kind of better blanket feel. I mean, so we've got Gaku here from Navi, debatably one of the best players in the world. I mean, like most of the pro players, um,
Mhm.
coming with a thought that it should still be more hard. Still seems too easy to get triples. Many pros are hoping for the difficulty level to be like Town Hall 12 or 15. Additionally, applying these changes to, I mean, this is an interesting take. Applying them to Crown War League, Champions 1, and Legends League. Now, that I would probably disagree. I think that would actually do more to cut out newer players of the community. I do think that um, Clan War League and Legends League can be quite easy for the top players if they're all tripling. However, we've got to bear in mind that that is quite a lot of people's sort of intake into the esports and competitive scene. If we make that too difficult to compete in, they might not feel that sort of urge to give it a go. And of course, we want to try to encourage that. We've got interesting take here from Carrie as well, who runs Cup Up Carry and a variety of other events. Um, Basically saying that probably not quite enough. So need to do some more. A
You
lot of
know,
people talk about the old rage tower
yep.
effectiveness. There's hold on, we've got a little bit. What's going on here? Oh yeah, and here we're gonna a lot more upset people really as we go on. I don't know why only 5%. Remember, you guys know Town 15 defenses. I mean, all defenses and rage towers and heroes. Put them all back to where it was. Not
Well, and
difficult
look, I
enough.
mean, and
Yeah,
I think you got to think too, like he's saying, like, but this is the thing, like they did do those nerfs, but they did them on a case by case basis. They didn't just go Town Hall 16 is 10% easier. You know, they went to okay, scatter. We're gonna change this a little bit. So I think that they, if they want to do the hard mode, they're gonna have to do the reverse. You know, go okay. Do we want the scatter to be zappable? You know, do we want, you know, whatever it is, right?
yeah,
Do we want the king to go down to 2 headhunters or 3? Like, I mean, it's more work, but like, I think if you want a good hard mode, that might be the way you have to do it. Is, you know,
yeah.
figure out what you're exactly wanting to do, and you know,
I mean, here's some more
going after it.
comments. We had Bruno saying that good, it's a step in the right direction. Clash and Carl here thinks 30% to heroes, 10% to defenses, but there is a general consensus that people are liking this sort of more engaged. Oh,
I mean, I think people like the idea. It's just not hard enough, is what it seems like. I mean, I haven't seen anybody say that's like, you know, we don't want a hard mode. So I mean, I guess that's good.
yeah.
Or you know,
I mean,
or
some
I
people
guess
here,
people aren't even like mad that they nerfed the heroes. They're just saying they need to be nerfed more. So I guess you know maybe the direction they're going is good. Maybe if they just add a few percent, maybe it will work.
yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, yeah, I mean, there's so much differing opinion though in the community as well, isn't there? Uh,
And I guess for you, right? Like y'all did like a beginners like I guess
yeah, beginners
week.
division and the advanced division. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I mean maybe something like this would be good for that where you know the beginner people can play on regular mode and then you got the hard mode for everybody else. I mean,
yeah. At the moment, it is interesting you say that. We were looking at the stats the other day. Of course, we've got to make decisions fairly quickly on this sort of thing. But at the moment, weirdly, in the beginner division, we're thinking of moving them to hard mode as well.
really.
Yeah, so the hit rate that we saw in the advanced division was 79% across the board. Of course, that accounts for any little mistakes, and that's about right actually, because every now and again players will make a mistake. So typically you see a lot of 14, 15 stars, and that's pretty much it. In the beginner, we are getting 71% hit rate. That's only 8% off, and that is a crazy statistic in itself because the beginners. I mean, of course, a lot of them aren't actually beginners. A lot of them are up and coming teams, not quite top 150 yet, but working there. But even they are finding it almost too easy to play the game. So it does raise a lot of questions, like if in a mode made specifically designed by us for the newer members, and they're just demolishing it, it's like
Yeah,
something's got to change,
dang.
hasn't it? It's crazy stuff. It is crazy. I mean, um, I'm just thinking there's a lot of there were a lot more comments and people getting angry, but I've somehow gone onto the entirely wrong tweet. Okay, here we go.
Oh, Twitter's just being Twitter.
It's classic Twitter moment. I think it should still be used in monthly qualifiers. Wars and hard mode should look like this. And yeah, I agree. I agree. This is what it looked like it when it was nice.
Well, and
I think
I
it's
guess
from last year.
yeah, and of course the question is too is like, you know, if it's because you know it's possible too that they just like if you make everything 10% harder,
Hmm.
basically, well, everything's 10% worse basically. Root riders can still be the best option. So
Yeah,
I think, you know, that's
exactly.
why I kind of think you got to target things a little bit because, you know, you don't want to end up where it's just root riders are instead of and that seems what this first version has done. It's like, okay, maybe root riders you triple 3-5% less, but they're still the best option.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They are
So
still clearly the best option. Adding more equipment makes it more unbalanced. It's a game changer. We've had too much.
I
Oh,
mean, it is good to see that people have said that the heroes do seem weaker. So It just that's not enough, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, you do raise a good point actually. If you know everything by 10%, you're still gonna have a strong troop. You're still gonna have a strong meta, and that doesn't actually
Yeah.
change the gameplay
Because
perspective.
they didn't nerf the troops themselves.
No,
I don't know. Root Riders are such a weird thing, man.
it is an old troop. I think as soon as people saw that
Just because
roll
it
out,
takes down walls, it's like
yeah, without even slowing them down, there's like no negative side effect. You remove a major defense, you remove a major blocking point, and there's just nothing to stop you. It's just
I mean, I think maybe all you need to say is that Valks were back in the meta. Like the most clowned on troop for a long time is back in the meta. Like I mean, that's just gonna tell you everything you gotta know
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean,
where we're at.
interesting opinion from Extra Light here. He says he's casual AF, which is a new. I don't realize people use AF in that setting, but fine. But the top players. I mean, to be fair, Clash Wars last year, I remember, and I don't really watch that much esports, which I know is a bit ironic coming from somebody that runs an esports league, but I don't really watch too much of it. But I remember
Mhm.
sitting down and watching that for about 3 hours straight in the morning over here, and I thought it was good. I thought it was interesting. I thought there was actually suspense. But nowadays there is suspense, but it just feels like as soon as there's a 1 star, well, things that it's not even a 1 star. As soon as there's a 2 star, that's it. It is game over.
Yeah.
It is because a 3 star is just so normal at this point. And we can look at the competitive Clash network and we can see some of the results here. I'm not sure if this will tell us whether wars were played on hard mode or not. Actually, it doesn't say. It
Probably
doesn't
not.
say.
They probably just haven't put it yet. So
Yeah,
it's
I
pretty
mean,
new.
to be fair, a lot of people are still trying to roll it out. We've got a lot going on at the moment, and you can see all these wars go a bit. If we go back a bit, still seeing 15, 15, 13, 13 here. I think ACL is on hard mode. I think, but 15,
I mean,
14,
if there's
13, 15, yeah,
I guess like I do see some 13s, which that's
that's
good, but
good.
there's just a lot of 15s though. That's the problem, you know?
I mean,
Like there shouldn't be that many 15s.
they shouldn't. We're going to take a look at the advanced cup simply because we haven't moved them on to the hard mode yet. That's next week. Um, and yeah, 15, 15, 15, 15, 12, 11. Beginners mode. It's a shame actually. Beginners mode start playing next week on hard mode as well, so I don't even have anything good to compare it to. But I mean, as long as we're seeing something that's 12, 13 stars, I think that's right. Still you still get the 3 star excitement. You still get to be like, oh yeah, woohoo. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting thoughts on this. There's a lot of people literally anything they need to do is force use the
I mean,
basic
it's just gonna
capabilities.
take some time. I mean, I know it's just that's how Supercell is, man. Just
This
put it
guy's
out there, and they want to get all the data and see how it's gonna be. So
the hard
we
mode
just have to.
needs to be implemented as an option in random
I mean,
wars.
I mean, it's even like in like when Super Barbarians, right, were kind of big. You know, they were kind of like, well, we're just gonna step back and see because we're gonna see if bases can adjust to it. So I don't know. Maybe that's what they want to see is like, well, could some base building designs take advantage of this new DPS buff? I don't know. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, definitely.
maybe that's the kind of stuff that like they think about is like, okay, well, we added 5% DPS. Let's see what the community can do with it. So I mean, maybe somebody comes up with some base design that like that 5% DPS really makes a difference. I mean, I don't know if it will,
Yeah,
but I mean that's what they think though.
yeah, that's clearly
So
the sort of route that they're going down. Yeah, this guy's left about 5 comments now. I think he's really into it.
yeah, I know.
He
I
is
saw.
thrilled, isn't he? Let's see if he has any other
So,
interesting opinions.
but I mean, we'll see.
I
We'll
don't
see.
speak.
See what happens.
I don't speak much Spanish, unfortunately, so I'm out. I'm out. I mean, look, let's completely change topic now. We're going to go on to this weird sort of scammer thing that we've been seeing in other Clash world. There's been a lot of scamusations. It's not a accusation or anything like that, but a lot of people are saying that various people have scammed them, and it raises a good question. Of course, from our side, both Magic and I are going to remain completely impartial in all of this. We're not going to express an opinion. I'd rather not see you all in court, so I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. But I do think it is worth discussing really what are we constituting as a community what a scam is? You know, like, is it
Yeah.
just when you have a disagreement and you split ways with an organization? I mean, obviously, if you have a signed contract and you're not paid, that's clear. But if there's no contract, where's the cutoff for this? There's no. It feels like there's no regulation on it. Perhaps, you know, it's just very random. People do whatever they want. I mean, you've got some Dark on Top played previously for Emporium Titans, and they had a bit of a thing recently where they got outed as not paying some people but paying others, and they've pretty much had all of
Yeah.
their teams leave them now. Um, and you know, we've had these. I mean, for those that aren't aware, there's these things called stay deals. Stay deals at the end of the Legends League thing, you know, where you count up your medals and stuff. And basically, some organisations will pay for players to stay in their organisation, and then they'll get the top one. You know, weird way to spend money, but whatever you want to do is totally fine. And yeah, there's a lot of people complaining here about not being paid. I'm not sure why everything is showing up as probable scam. Um, and yeah, this is becoming a weird thing. Here you've got Skyros accusing another organization of scamming them, which is interesting, and he's tagged everybody under the sun here. Um, you've got Cock Esports, you've got Carry, you've got UDG, you've got Chaos, you've got ACL, you've got us, you've got PCL, you've got Milan, you've got
Is
ClashKing,
this
you've got Mango.
so but is most of this like scamming happening in like EOS type stuff?
Yeah, it feels like a lot of it
Oh, oh,
is all
yeah.
EOS. And
I mean, my personal opinion on it is I'm not a big fan of that part of the game.
no,
So,
um, I mean,
I
it is
mean,
odd as well because it's also what is the deal? What
I
what what
mean,
are they signing here? I mean, you know, where is the agreement? And it feels very unfair for both sides. Here you go. May I see a contract
well,
with
and I
you?
think,
Will you put a
yeah, and
contract?
I think a lot of those things do kind of just happen under the table. Because like the whole like aspect of like, I mean, it's everything from like, people paying for defenses to
Yeah,
paying for people's bases, or I mean, just paying
I,
to stay in a clan or whatever. That whole like, I think a lot of it is just kind of, you know, hey, come join my clan. I'll pay you. Like,
yeah, and it feels like, you know,
weird.
if account sharing and buying accounts and all that is against the rules, and same for buying defenses and all of that, because you know you are affecting the play experience. Should this be allowed as well? You know, that's an interesting topic. I think, you know.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm personally just never been a big fan of it. I mean, because it's like because like I mean, I'm around a lot of families, right? And it's like I told one person like because they were looking into like growing their clan against some legends people in it, and try to push a little bit. And I was like, that's cool, and like I hope like I wish you success. Just
Just not for you.
don't compare yourself to those clans. Like, don't try to get number one in your region, or like just
Yeah,
realistically,
they
like
they
those
literally
people are
have
paying.
commercial goals. Yeah, they have
Yeah,
money
they
behind
just.
it, and they will literally get it every time if they
But
want to. It
but
turns into
it
a
does
bidding
it
war.
does suck. It does suck to like have to say that just because
Yeah, if
you
it
know
doesn't feel like it's, you
it's
know,
crazy to
anybody
me
can do
too
it.
that there's entire clans, man, where it's like I mean, there's some families even like just families who have normal clans and everything, and then at the end of the season they have a whole clan that's not people that are like
Yeah, it's not their members anymore, is it?
it's
It
not
is
their members,
literally
and like
random
I mean,
people.
I'm not like you can do what you want with your money. It's just I don't know.
You
I
don't see
just
the
got
point. Yeah,
it just sucks, I guess, to me. To just have to tell people like I
sorry.
don't know. I
Yeah,
just
it isn't
it kind of
achievable.
ruins
It
the
isn't real.
competition, I guess, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
Well, what while it does, it is essentially rigging it. You know, people are paying for other players to be in there, and I think off the top of my head, there's really only one clan family that does it correctly. I mean, I think there are others, but this is the main big one I can think of, and that's USA Fam. And they have an end of season push. But from what I've seen, you know, there's no money involved. It's purely for fun. If you want to go in there and push, fine, go for it. But I think
yeah.
a lot of these you know, because this message here, I mean, it is
Well,
so long. I might as well write a little book whilst I'm
I
at it.
mean, I mean, you can argue too. I mean, especially there is a price technically Supercell puts up. It's those gems. I mean, people are basically. I mean, it's weird though, anyways, because like you're paying. I mean, that's not why people are doing it, of course. But I mean, it's
Yeah,
just
it is still odd, isn't it? Because I think for some players this is quite useful. It's a way for them to still earn a bit of money on the
yeah,
side because esports contracts in Clash aren't that lucrative. You know, they're not making mega
yeah.
money. So for them, it's like a bit of extra bonus money. But you know, it does raise the question of is it like correct? Should they be doing it at all? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's an interesting
it's
question,
weird.
and yeah, this is the same thing all over again. We agree with Pulse Esports. I mean, there's just a lot of people getting very angry at the moment, and I do think the current state of the game just really encourages it because people can't prove themselves in the normal esports sense by, you know, three
Yeah.
starring their opponents and feeling proud because it's all spam attacks. So, yeah, I mean, it is just interesting. It is just interesting. But I just thought it'd be interesting to touch on that. I don't really have a whole lot
Mm-hmm.
else to say about it. I'm not sure if you do.
No,
No,
no. I mean, I
it's just weird. It's
yeah. I
just
mean,
weird.
I guess just I would say I'm not surprised. Like,
Mm.
I guess is all. Like,
You know, that's fair. That is fair. Um, let's take a little look at worlds whilst we're here, I suppose. You know, I mean, I'm not sure if you've been staying up to date much, but we've got some interesting teams in there. We've seen
nope.
Vista Ridge being very successful. Big clan family. They've been really pushing through nicely. I think they're in the lower
Yeah,
bracket now because they would have lost this match, which would have put them
yeah.
down a bracket.
I've
Um,
heard good things about
yeah, yeah, they've been doing very well indeed. And I'm not sure if they've got an updated bracket here. They don't. They don't have an updated bracket. But yeah, Vista Ridge lost that match. But you know, still, 14 stars,
which
15 stars. This is the sort of play that we don't want to
I guess
see from the
there's
Aussie.
Worlds today then.
Yeah, this is World's Day 1. Uh, big 55k price for on the line. Big money.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, for an org like Vista, that would be fantastic for them because they're a clan family, and I believe you know they spend a lot of money on their own stuff. So it is nice to see these smaller teams in there. You know, you're not just seeing Navi and Clash Champs, and I know the new meta is shit in a
Which
sense.
did they get?
What's
Did
that?
they get knocked out? Navi? It looks like they lost
Well,
now.
Navi, I think I'm not entirely sure where they are, or maybe they
Hmm,
did get. Yeah, I think they got knocked out. Which
dang.
although this new meta is shit, and I think that's widely agreed by most players, it does allow these, you know, sort of shock teams to come in and have a go at the title. You know, um,
Yeah.
it because it's less. It is a little bit more luck based. You know, if you get a good trap placement, you might be able to kill off a few troops and cause it to go into a 2 star. But you know, if you have nice, successful, clean spam attacks, you can clear down the bases in 1 minute 20, and you can qualify and go through. I mean, Fister Ridge here, look at this 15-15 war, 120, 125, 145, 133, 129. Slowest attack
Jeez.
there, 220. That is the slowest 3 star. A 2 minutes 20. The quickest, only
Yep.
1 minute 16. I mean, the big question here as well is what on earth do the streamers do for the remaining time in the match? You know, there's only a few minutes of gameplay there at the moment. What are they gonna
I know
do?
you. It's like you need the timed hits now because otherwise uh you would finish the whole match in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I remember when I used to do the streaming, I'd have 2 minutes 30 of gameplay normally to talk about whilst they did their 3 star whatever. Okay, you know, we'd see a few time fails and stuff. But nowadays, with these sort of times, it is absurd. I don't think it's particularly viewer friendly. But I mean, yeah, some interesting results. Good luck to all the teams playing. Fingers crossed we get some interesting ones to go through. I guess that's my perspective once again. Um, yeah, good luck to all of you. Let's talk a little bit, not for too long, about some of the leaks that we've seen coming out. So I'm showing up here a leak here of, I believe, a new ability. Um, and we can watch it here. It's a 1 minute 35 hit. So it's all the troops in at the top, a few spells, and you can just watch how quickly it goes through its entire base as if it was nothing. And this is from the dev mode, just to clarify.
Well, I'm gonna have to no comment. I mean, it's people taking stuff out of the dev build. I mean,
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
not gonna
think it's
confirm or deny.
yeah,
I mean, but when it comes to leaks in general, I'm not super happy about them. I mean, because I get people who DM me. I mean, of course, there are other creators where like I'm sure it definitely affects them because like they have to make content on this stuff. I mean, but also it's just annoying.
yeah,
As people's because I mean things change. I mean,
yeah. This isn't a final
my God,
release.
the rocket spear, man. People for like what 3 or 4 or 5 months
Mm.
were like, "Oh, rocket spear is coming next month," and you have people getting into fights over, "Do I need to save up for this? Is it going to be good? Is it not?" Like that
Yeah,
kind of stuff is just. It's like there's already a lot of controversy about different things, and then you got people arguing about stuff that may or may not be in the game, and then may or may not be the way that it's shown, and then may or may not come when the people say it will. And so
yeah.
that's just honestly a big thing for me. I wish that I mean it's crazy. I mean, there's people who literally pulled stuff out of the game files. It's like Town Hall 17 will have this or whatever. It's like, geez, man.
No, that is
Yeah,
clearly
I
just
don't
them
understand.
starting to build stuff. There's nothing. Yeah, until it's released, it's not necessarily there, is it? It's not worth
I
getting
mean,
upset about.
I think leaks are maybe um like, maybe like maybe there's some like benefit to leaks. Like it's kind of like people say like pirating music, right? Like has been shown to you know those people weren't going to buy it anyways, and there's some benefits to it. So maybe leaks are the same way. Maybe it keeps people engaged, during like lull periods or something. But like, geez, man, there's just been so much like
There has been.
that.
There has been.
It's
And
just too.
yeah,
It's like too much.
yeah,
Like at least like I am complaining about the rocket spear, but at least it was just the rocket spear.
yeah, exactly.
Like like it's a cool equipment people saw in the leaks, but like this time it's like you see leaks. I'm not even gonna go into it. There's just a lot of leaks this time.
No,
I'm sure you can find them on your own. So
no, yeah,
it's
exactly.
it's crazy, and I know other creators have been getting bombarded with people like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And of course, we have to go, "Yeah, I'm gonna break my NDA," just
Yeah, it's
to
great.
tell
Just
you
for a
what I
laugh.
think.
It's well worth it, isn't
Just,
it? So you can tell one
just for
person.
you, buddy.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And as you say, this isn't official. Of course, the army breakdown here is quite amusing. They use 64 giants for that attack.
Yeah.
And to be fair, the comments, there are some people. Some people will always take the opportunity to kind of just have a go at Supercell, even when it isn't official. And I don't think that's right. I don't support that at all. I don't support any sort of this sort of thing. You know, no point in
Yeah, and
taking it
like
out
I
on.
do want to say like on that comment about like creators not testing it. This is the thing too is like we do test the stuff, but like it's like root writers, man. Like when I tested root writers in the dev build, like I don't remember anybody really saying that they're gonna be broken. I mean, of course, like, we thought they were gonna be good, but like there's no like honestly, my initial thought on root writers was they're slow. So like I thought um,
You thought they'd be
okay, they
bad.
might be kind of good. They might be good, but they're slow. So I thought people would time fail or like, why would you want to use such a slow troop? As there's none. I don't think anybody could have envisioned that
No.
it is a slow troop, but people are still
Yeah.
people are still tripling in like a minute and a half or less.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
I mean,
I mean,
none of
but I
us
think
could see
all the
that.
hero abilities and stuff support that troop nowadays, don't they?
Hmm.
I mean,
Well, and it's also
yeah,
hard to like. I think it's hard to gauge honestly right now because you also have to think like the game is easy. So they give us the new hero equipment to test. I mean, what exactly are we gauging it against? I mean, if you had an 80%, like it's not like the hit rate was 30%, and they add some hero equipment, and all of a sudden, like that makes your hit rate 80%. Like, no, it's like okay, your hit rate was 80%, and now there's this new hero equipment. Maybe now it's 85%. Like, it's
yeah,
not easy to like. It's not like we're seeing in the dev build, running 1,000 wars to see how the hit rate looks like. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that that's what the game is for. People they see how it goes.
yeah, definitely,
And maybe
definitely.
it's but
Yeah,
We're not
I mean,
tracking our hit rates in there, you know.
yeah, exactly,
And it's the
exactly.
changes aren't obvious enough, is what I would say. You know, like I said, it's not like, you know,
Yeah,
I tried out the gauntlet and I was like, holy crap, my hit rate doubled. Like,
yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, to be fair, this update, there's been some comments. This person thinks it's just a typo on the ability. It should be 3 to 5 seconds rather than 35. I mean, there is a lot of concern, and I feel a lot of these posts are also quite simply put rage bait. You know, they are people
yeah,
trying to get other people worked up for their own account engagement. I think a lot of them know that a lot of this stuff won't actually be released, and we've seen it in the last few months. People leaking the most random things that they found on the dev build, but none of them ever come out because there were no
well,
plans, and
yeah, yeah, and
that's the
it's like,
entire idea of the dev build.
I mean, there was one equipment even that, and that's not the dev build. That's like people just putting it into a private server or something. But
Yeah,
um, I mean, I was talking with another creator, and he was saying that like he got, you know, the leak said the stats were going to be one thing, then when it actually came out was another thing, and then they were like, "Oh my god, they lied." It's like, no, they
no,
just, you know,
no,
like,
somebody
you know,
leaked it.
I would probably assume that the first thing they do is probably make the assets, like,
Yeah,
or one of the, you know, or like,
look what it
or
is.
you got to have
Just
something there to
sewage.
test, right? So
Yeah,
they probably put
exactly.
all that stuff in, and then they tweak that, you know,
Yeah, I mean, to be
there's
fair,
like, they are right, like the creators and people, and I'm sure they have game testers and stuff all test it. You know,
yeah,
I'm sure a lot of it changes. I'm sure some of it changes before we even see it. I
yeah.
mean, for all I know,
Well,
the
well, I
gauntlet
mean, you'd
ability could
hope
have been
so,
2 minutes
wouldn't you?
when it started out, and then it's what
Exactly.
it is now. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, you'd hope that they. I mean, that is the entire basis of any company. You know, they're not just going to be.
yeah,
I mean, I don't think they're going to be getting it right perfect, but a lot of the people complaining do have to remember that they are not necessarily the main audience. You know, there
yeah.
is a lot of casual players, and Clash of Clans had never really been built for an esports scene, and esports came along really in a big way. What 2019, and Clash of
hmm
Clans has been around since
Well,
2012.
when they added their own worlds,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly, and
Well,
yeah,
it's. I mean, I think we're just seeing that they're catering to the casuals a lot more now, and I mean, it's hard to tell, like is the where the game is going. I mean, there's no like stat. I mean, the only people that really know would be the people with Supercell, and God, that's one of the things that annoys me most is people find these sites with like, you know, oh, this is how many players are playing, or like it's just, you know, like for example, people are saying there's less people playing right now. Well, it's also the summer, man.
yeah,
Like you
yeah.
expect it's the summer. They're probably outside touching grass. Like
And
they'll
it's
be back
exam
in
season.
winter.
There's
Like
exams going on. People have their finals.
exams, yeah.
Yeah,
Like so, it's hard to tell, and
yeah.
like you were saying, I think people just sometimes do this for like
Clout.
rage bait or
Yeah,
comments or whatever. I mean, it's just,
yeah. And they're all out
these
there
things take
touching
time.
grass.
And I mean, of course, I'm a creator, but still, I do really think that they've done decently well. I mean, like if you even think about it, people asked like just esports alone, like and this also you got to think, like you said, casuals is what they cater to, right?
Yeah,
But yet they've still added two major requests: hard mode and you can friendly war and war at the same time. People have been asking that for
yeah. I think
like
it's good.
years, and they did that in less than 6 months. Like,
That's crazy.
uh,
That is actually a
I
crazy
like,
stat.
I really don't have like the game's not perfect right now, but like it's one of those things like they're not they're not out until they're down or whatever. Like
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah. I mean, they're still being
I would give them time.
receptive.
Like
Yeah, the
yeah,
fact that we have a hard mode at all, I think, is literally groundbreaking. Supercell,
yeah,
they've never done anything like that for, I don't think, pretty much any of their games, and for them to do it for Clash of Clans, and this the interesting part about it really is that they aimed it at such a small audience. There's
yeah.
really very
They
few
can do that
people.
for a small audience. Like
Exactly. This is
complete.
literally for the pros. I don't think people are. I'm not really the type of guy that's going to go around saying Supercell are amazing. They are obviously going to have flaws. They're a massive corporate giant. There's obviously going to be issues with communication sometimes and a lack of clear direction. But it's a corporate company. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and
It's not a three-man
I'm just
band.
it actually feels like they're trying.
Yeah, it
Like
does. It
I mean,
does.
of course, like there's they. talked about like adding clan recruitment, and some people have said
Yeah,
there's been leaks about clan recruitment being added. Like, dude, that is huge. Like, people have literally asked for clan recruitment,
for years, right?
and since global chat got taken away. And of
Yeah,
course, it's like, when you look at it like as a whole, it does look like, okay, well, it took them what 5, 6 years to get around to it, but
yeah,
that's not really the case. It's more like, I think if I had to guess, they really changed teams around the time that, like, maybe when they finished that builder base stuff, or
mm,
maybe Clan Capital. I mean, it hasn't been maybe a year and a half or maybe two at most. So I mean, it's nice to see that they're actually. I mean, I think the first thing we really felt as like a community was that Halloween event. Like, that was like, what the heck? Like,
yeah.
y'all cooked.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It was surprising, and yeah, I do think they are going in the right direction. And I don't think it's also right to take it out on the Clash of Clans esports team. They are different people. They're not developing the game. I think they're being quite receptive to the feedback that's being put there. But they can only do so much as well. I mean, I've worked in corporate for years. It can, at a big company like that. Bear in mind how many employees
Yeah,
they've got.
you
It,
got to get everyone to agree.
Exactly. You've got to get everyone agreed to every little thing. You've got to go through various rounds of development. You're going to have work orders that need signed off. People are going to be time limited. They're going to be working on other stuff.
Hmm.
It's
Like, there can
yeah,
be half, you can talk to half the people and they're like, "Oh, that'd be great," and then the other half are
yeah,
maybe it's the people who actually have to
exactly.
implement it and are like, "Hell no,"
Yeah,
So,
exactly, exactly. I mean, it will be a case of there'll be designers and stuff coming up with their ideas, and they'll go, "Oh, well, this could work." They'll take it off to their little focus group and go, "That's good." They'll go through all this planning. They'll take it to the developers who will go, "Are you fucking nuts?" Yeah, that would be it. It'll be dead in the water, and that happens. That is, I'm sure the base code of the game is only so flexible. They're not going to be able to change everything to the way that we want. They can't just make a brand new game. Um,
mhm.
but yeah, it is an interesting world at the moment. I mean, we are running a little long here, so we are going to have to look to push it up. Really, I mean, I think this has been a fairly successful podcast. We've covered quite a
Yeah,
lot. I mean, remember, guys, if you have any sort of topics that you want us to discuss, you just put it in the Discord or message one of us directly, and we'll make sure that we talk about it on the next podcast, which will hopefully be in about 2 weeks from now. Um,
hmm
and yeah, we'll get right back to it. There's not really any other topics that we have going on. So, yeah, that's it from me this time. And Magic, next time you're going to have your camera on, aren't you?
yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
we're
do
going to
that.
see Magic's beautiful face, and you're going to have to maybe like put like a mirror in between so nobody falls in love with you or anything. One of
Oh
those
Lord,
classic old tricks. But yeah, we're looking forward to
I look
that.
just like the profile picture,
Yeah, yeah,
of
yeah. You
course.
do. You are just such a beautiful woman. What can I say? um, anyway, let's end it there before I say anything else too weird. Thank you everybody for watching along or listening along, depending on what you want to do. Make sure to communicate with us about what you want to see, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you and goodbye.
See ya.